is the second regular meeting for October 2019 of the Pike County Fiscal Court. And I would like to ask Mr. William Spears to say the invocation for us.
Let us pray. Father, we come to you today, Lord, seeking your guidance, Lord, that first and foremost that we will follow your will with the decisions made here and that they will be in the best interest of the citizens and the workers of this county. We ask it all in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Judge Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Robertson. Commissioner Tackett.
Here.
Commissioner Booth.
Here.
We have a quorum and we are ready to proceed. And I'd like to ask my good friend, former State Senator R.J. Palmer, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is the approval of the minutes for the meeting from October 1st, 2019, and have the members had an opportunity to review the minutes. And is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tackett.
Yes.
Commissioner Booth.
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. We're going to go off the agenda or out of order just a little bit. We have Ms. Luella Allen here today from the Pike County Public Library District for purpose of acknowledging the tax rates for 2019 for real property and motor vehicle. And Ms. Allen, thank you for being here. And would you please go ahead and just present the rates adopted by the Library Board?
The real property rates were,
You might have to speak up and pull that microphone up just a little bit.
the real property rates were the same as last year, the 13.9. The tangible property, with lowering the taxes from what the compensating rate was, Frankfurt told us we had to lower the tangible, so that's lowered also to 18.66. Motor vehicle is the same every year, which is 2.39.
Okay. So what was the rate for personal property last year?
20.
Okay. So that was in effect a lowering of the rate. All right. We appreciate your working with us. As you know, the fiscal court did not raise tax rates this year because we recognized the situation facing a lot of the folks in our county. We've even noticed the fact that we've got more people using credit cards just to pay their fees, you know, the garbage bills and so forth. And that's a sign of the fact that people are really having a hard time right now here. And as you know, we've had Cambrian just laid off 200 employees up in my native Shelby Valley. Blackhawks laid off somewhere, when you factor in the support staff, about 500 employees. A lot of those workers worked here or from Pike County, even though they were working in Mingo and Logan County. And we appreciate the fact that the Library Board was in agreement with us, the meeting that we had with you and Mr. Justice. And we appreciate the fact that the Library Board recognized the situation facing the county and our taxpayers. So with that being said, is there a motion to acknowledge the property tax rate certification from the Pike County Public Library District Board of Trustees dated October 9, 2019? Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tackett.
Yes.
Commissioner Booth.
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. Thank you all very much. And if we can be of any help in any way, please let us know. All right. Thank you all. We also have here today a gentleman who I've known pretty well for the last 20 years, That's Mr. R.J. Palmer, who's a Senior Vice President for Compass Municipal Advisors, who is the company that will be working with us on our bonding. And R.J., would you come on up and bring Mr. Campbell with you if you like? We have Mr. Lonnie Campbell, who was formerly, I believe, the State Finance Officer for the Department of Local Government and a former employee of the Kentucky Association of Counties. And what is being passed out is the table that would set forth the savings on the Series 2010 AOC refunding. And this is a little different than the one we had previously been given, but I'll let Mr. Palmer explain that one.
Sure. Thank you, Judge and members of the court. Lonnie and I appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning with you to assist in passing the two resolutions that are required for refunding the AOC debt on the judicial side. The one-page savings summary you have in front of you simply compares the existing debt service with the estimated new debt service and then the net savings amount. The way this process works, of course, you enter into a lease with AOC. They pay the debt service for you through a lease agreement. And as such, when we identify bond issues where there are savings available, and since you are the issuer of the debt, AOC shares in that savings with the county. They give you 10% of any savings that is realized. Currently, we estimate that savings will be approximately $799,000. The 10% portion that would be returned to Pike County is $79,961. There's no change in the maturities or the structure. This is simply a reduction in interest rate. The remaining term of this debt has an interest rate of 3.96. Based upon where rates are today, we think we can issue the debt and lock the rate at 2.5%. This is what we call a forward lock. So as the resolution noted, these bonds are not callable or able to be paid off until August of 21. These two resolutions allow us to begin the process of determining when the most opportune time is to do this. It may not be today. Because it is so far out, there's a limited number of underwriters who will lock a rate that far in advance. So in essence, they're locking their rate today, but they won't use those funds until 90 days prior to that August 21 call date. If we get within maybe one calendar year instead of two where we are today, there is the likelihood that the pool of bidders would expand. And what that does for us and for Pike County is obviously if we can create a little more competition, then we may be able to receive a lower interest rate than even what we've estimated today.
Does this lock the interest rate in at 2.5 by doing this now?
It does.
Okay.
Right. So it's a bit of an interest rate game, more or less. Maybe not a game, but we're trying to estimate. Of course, we don't know where rates will be come August 21. So we can lock it today and guarantee those savings, or we can wait and see if rates don't move.
So essentially, this is the same as if somebody out there is paying a mortgage and they can refinance it, cut their payment, and save money over time.
That's correct.
So we're cutting the rate from 3.9 to a high of 2.5.
Correct.
And once these bonds are callable in 2021, then if the rates are lower through even another company, so you could get it for 2.2 or something, then you would even be able to take advantage of the lower rate at that time. Cannot.
That is the danger.
That's the downside.
Right. That's the downside. If you lock today, there would be a penalty to not execute come August of 21.
I can't see.
That would eat up potentially savings for, let's say if you could find 2.2% at that time, we may lose all that extra savings by the penalty of not executing the first.
On the flip side, if interest rates were to go up,
Correct.
then your
We've locked it in today, and they would be in the same position that you, if they went.
And you've
down.
lost
They
your-
would have to execute, or there would be penalty for them.
And you would basically lose your opportunity to refinance if I don't see interest rates personally, and this is, again, a educated guess, or I don't want to use the word guess, but it's an educated or an informed decision, because I can't see interest rates going below 2.5% on the municipal bond market.
We're at near historic lows, and there are so many outside elements that do impact us. For instance, the bond market is very quick to react to global news. So the perception that there's some movement on trade talks with China on Friday actually increased rates by about eight basis points. So, we never know what may happen that's completely outside of Pike County or Kentucky that may impact this transaction. The only thing we do know is that the closer we get to the call date, the more underwriters that would be interested and provide us more competition. That being said, this is pretty significant savings for the taxpayers of the Commonwealth that returns nearly $80,000 to Pike County.
Is it your opinion that we should enter into this agreement for the refinancing at this time as opposed to waiting?
I would probably suggest to you that we wait till after the first of the year to get within one calendar year, unless for some reason, again, we see that rates begin to have upward pressure, then we would move to lock this rate as quickly as possible.
So we don't need to do this resolution today?
You do need to do the resolution, because that allows us
Okay.
to execute the transaction when we are in
Okay,
agreement
that's
with you.
okay.
That's what the resolution allows us to do. It does not force us to do it. It allows us the opportunity to execute.
All right. So it would be my motion that the fiscal court pass the resolution that's in the packet under numerical item 1. It's a resolution of the fiscal court of the County of Pike, Kentucky, authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with the Pike County Public Properties Corporation and the Kentucky Administrative Office of the Courts, authorizing the execution of any other instruments necessary to carry out a plan of financing the cost of refunding all or a portion of the corporation's first mortgage revenue bonds, Justice Center Project Series 2010, and evidencing the agreement of the county to accept a conveyance of the Judicial Center from the Pike County, Kentucky Public Properties Corporation after retirement of all bonds issued by said corporation, and in pertinent part whereby the county previously authorized the corporation to issue the Pike County, Kentucky Public Properties Corporation first mortgage revenue bonds in the original principal amount of $30,925,000 dated August 5th, 2010, the proceeds of which were used to finance the acquisition, construction, equipping of a judicial center in Pikeville, Kentucky. Whereas the county desires to assist the corporation in the refinancing and refunding of all or a portion of the outstanding 2010 bonds in order to achieve interest cost savings for the corporation. Whereas the corporation, with the assistance from the financial advisor Compass Municipal Advisors, LLC, has established the total cost of refunding program requires a bond issue in the principal amount of $14,830,000, subject to an adjustment upwards or downwards by 10% be issued. Whereas it is contemplated the corporation will issue, sell, and deliver the bonds for the purpose of financing the cost of the refunding program, that the corporation will lease said project to the county and the Kentucky AOC under the terms of such under such terms and such rentals as will be sufficient to pay the principal and interest requirements of the bonds. And whereas the bonds cannot be redeemed until on or after August 1st, 2021.
Judge, we're missing page 2.
We are missing page 2 in this. Can you let's stand in recess for a minute. We don't have the complete resolution here. Does that one have both page 2? We've got a little bit of error in our copying, so we'll stand at ease for just a minute. But while you're doing that, before we go back to this, one of the issues that I talked to you briefly about before the meeting, and it's something that you and I have talked about, we've known each other a long time, and I trust your opinion on this because this is something that probably is the most significant issue facing the county. As you know, in May of 2018, S&P downgraded Pike County's credit rating substantially, and then 3 weeks later, after the second bad audit came out, the county lost its credit rating. And I think it's important that we've got members of the press here. This is being live streamed on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube. People go see it on Pike TV. And I think there's an educational role that this meeting has, and the fact that you're here, and we greatly appreciate that. And Lonnie may want to chime in. But I think it's important to understand the significance of the fact that we lost our credit rating. And I've equated that to what would really happen to an individual's credit rating after they file bankruptcy. And when you have a poor credit rating, your ability to go borrow money at either to borrow money or to borrow money at a reasonable interest rate is substantially impacted. And as I explained to you, this court has tried to do something that's not been done previously. We've tried to put together a capital plan. And what a capital plan, for the folks that are watching, is a plan that would set forth the needs of the county for equipment, for facility maintenance, and so forth, for the purpose of trying to plan when we're going to have to spend money, when we're going to have to replace a piece of road equipment, when we're going to have to buy new trucks, when we're going to have to buy new dump trucks, when we're going to have to buy new excavators, when we're going to have to buy new packers or mini packers for solid waste. And that's never been done before. And, the way the county's done it for years is they would just run out to a surplus auction whenever, they needed something. They'd end up buying something that, and I think it's been pretty well documented, they'd buy stuff that was already worn out at state surplus auctions, and we'd end up spending more money than was ever going to get out of it in return. We've identified about $10.5 million in needs for our capital plan for solid waste, the road lot, and public works. That doesn't count anything with the jail. It doesn't count anything with the sheriff's office that they may need, because, of course, that's a separate office. And we've also know that from working with our landfill consultant, Geosyntec Consultants, we're going to have to spend about $5.7 million roughly in addition to what we've already spent to finish the permitting of the re-permitting of the landfill. And this is an issue that we talked about before I took office, the fact that this landfill situation we have is a significant financial liability for the county. And we know that it's in the best interest of the taxpayers, the people of the county, to keep the landfill in operation. It's a lot cheaper to re-permit it, to expand it, keep paying, providing garbage service here as opposed to hauling it to Ashland and paying somebody else to take it. So we know that if you look at those two plans, we're somewhere around $16 million in needs. And there's no way the county can cash flow that. It'd be no different than somebody having to put a new roof on their house or a new heat pump. Most people have to refinance it or take out a home equity loan. What would you advise us? What are the implications of losing the credit rating? And B, what can we do to fix that?
And I'd be remiss, I need to go back and introduce Lonnie. I didn't do that. With me today is Lonnie Campbell, who is works with CAECO, and he's the Assistant Director of Finance at CAECO. And to your question, Judge, rating reinstatements are very difficult. Clearly, what you and the court have undertaken and what you've accomplished to date is part of the process of what we need to do. Pike County is, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but the financial difficulties that you all have experienced because of expanding budgets and the reduction in coal severance is largely what led to the downgrade and then to the ultimate withdrawal of your rating. So in order to get the rating back, you have to continue what you've been doing, which is to reduce your expenditures and increase revenue. That is, I mean, very simple terms, that is what has to happen so that you're operating with a structured budget that typically would have some carry forward or surplus, for lack of a better term, but to put aside for a rainy day fund. You know, for the last number of years, obviously that's not been possible, but I know that you all have taken great strides to do that. One benefit you have is that your debt is rolling off or paying off from a high in 2016 where you all were paying about $2 million for debt service out of the general fund. 2021, that's going to be about $750,000. In 2024, it's less than $500,000. So what that does for you is it gives you bonding capacity. And there are two different things. You have a constitutional capacity, which is 2% of your assessed values, which is about $50 million. There's a difference between what you can constitutionally issue in debt and what you can feasibly pay for. So, but you're able to service the amount of debt that you have right now. And as that continues to roll off, that will give you some bonding capacity, but keep your debt payments equal about to where they are today. So, you know, that gives you over time, how do we fund this $10 to $16 million worth of capital projects? That is obviously a decision, a policy decision of the court as to what those priorities are, and then we can help you structure that debt around the existing debt as it continues to roll off so that we don't have this great spike in debt service. You know, one of the interesting things that we have the ability to do is to move maturities within the bond issue around. So if we know that our revenues are continuing to increase going forward, so we want to pay maybe a little less principal in the early years and wait and see the reduction of expenditures that we've made and the increase in revenue collections that we're experiencing to allow those to grow a little more, we have some ability to help you structure that in order to meet the long-term goals of the capital needs of Pike County. It's, again, you know, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it is very difficult to get a reinstatement, particularly given a lot of factors that we can't control. So socioeconomic factors that rating agencies like S&P look at, the reality is we are in rural Kentucky. We don't compare favorably to a lot of our counterparts outside of Kentucky when it comes to median income. We're trying to obviously do better and continue to grow our economy, and we've seen some positive signs in Kentucky, but it still would be a challenge to get that reinstated. That being said, that's not the worst news. Because we still have the ability to assist the county with their capital needs. I'm sure you're aware, Judge, but the Kentucky Association of Counties back in about early 2000s created a bond pool, particularly for situations like this where we have counties that may not be able to access the capital market on their own. KCO created a pool funding tool so that you can access the capital market at a AA- credit rating. So that is an option. First and foremost, you should continue to proceed to try and get your rating reinstated. If that's something we're unable to accomplish, we have an option to make sure that we can meet the needs of the citizens of Pike County and the capital needs that this court and yourself have identified to be priorities. We have the ability to do that. To your question of what that means, you know, a AA- credit rating is on par with the state. So it's a very significant tool that KCO has offered counties. But one notch in the credit rating could mean as much as 20 basis points. So, but once you get outside of, a rated debt offering, it's going to cost you considerably more in interest cost. So that means you can do less of your priorities because your cost of money is more.
So I want to go back because I think it's people who may not be aware. There's several reasons that we lost the credit rating: declining revenue. One issue was the fact there was no capital plan. There was no plan on how to meet the long-term needs of the county.
Yes.
The poor financial controls that the county had in place. All the cash balances except for one or two accounts were incorrect.
Right.
Money was being transferred among accounts that, and the transfers weren't being recorded. We were bouncing checks when there was, over $1 million in uncashed checks upstairs. And the fact that there was no plan on how to deal with the declining coal severance. And to that point, I received an email on Friday from J.C. Young at the Kentucky Coal and Mineral County Coalition. And as you know, in fiscal year 20, it was projected that the state would earn approximately $10 million statewide less than in fiscal year 19. And in fact, it is already 11.9% through the first quarter below projections. And what we saw in our budget is we had budgeted $1 million for LGEAF, which is the local government economic assistance money, the coal severance we get back. I think in the last budget, the last court did, they budgeted 1.7. We thought we were being very conservative and budgeted $1 million. And we were about 80,000, it was about 80,000, Frankie, below what. Now, the good news is that the mineral is up some. So I'm hopeful that they will balance each other out. But what it does show, along to your point, is that coal severance is going to continue to decline. It has declined year after year. And I think a lot of our financial problems here was the failure to recognize, even as coal severance started down, the county continued to spend and to provide the same, parks and playgrounds and things that don't return a financial investment to the county, but that create long-term debt that we have to take care of. And, I've always believed that government should put money aside for a rainy day like we do in Frankfurt. We have a rainy day fund. And the county never did that. The county had $30 million to spend, they spent $30 million. And we've tried not to do that. We've tried to budget some reserve because we don't have that crystal ball. But as I understand what you're saying is the fact that we don't have a credit rating will cost us substantially more if we go out into the bond market and try to sell bonds.
You would, right now, currently, you would only have access to the capital market through the KCO bond pool.
So we have no other, Pike County with no credit rating has the only way we can issue bonds is to go through KCO. Is that correct?
We could probably get a bid for non-rated capital offer, but the cost of that is going to be such that it's cost prohibitive. It won't make any sense to borrow money at that rate when you have other options.
Have any other counties in eastern Kentucky lost their credit rating?
Actually, most of them don't have credit ratings.
Is it because they're so small budget? Mm-hmm. But that's not the case with this county. This county is so large with, $34, $35 million budget. The fact that we don't have a credit rating, to me, would seem to be a huge impediment to our ability to meet the needs of the county. Is that a fair statement?
It's a fair statement. You always have the option, again, not to keep going back to it, but the option exists to access the capital market. But for a county the size of Pike, with the budget that you have, it should certainly be a goal to get your credit rating reinstated, because that's going to provide you with the lowest cost of capital to meet your capital program.
And if we had not lost the credit rating, if the prior administration had been able to keep the credit rating, that would have substantially lowered our cost of financing the landfill and our capital needs. Is that correct?
It would have.
So,
Just to go back to your a number of issues that you pointed out in regards to the withdrawal of the rating, one of the big ones and one of the major ones was the audit issue. When you issue public debt, you enter into a disclosure agreement where on a timely basis, you will disclose to the public and to bondholders what your financial condition is. And the one way that counties in Kentucky do that is through audits. And the lack of audits for Pike County during that time and prior to that is one of the major factors that led to the ultimate withdrawal of the rating. Again, there certainly is an impact because of the decrease in revenue, and I think that the court is very wise to not depend upon your coal severance dollars, particularly for recurring expenditures. That's one of the things that as we go through this process of attempting to reinstate a rating, they're going to want you to have recurring revenues that are meeting recurring expenditures. So we don't want a structural imbalance, as we've often had the discussion in Frankfurt, Judge, where we are taking money from other areas in order to balance. That's another aspect of this ratings process that we just have to recognize and understand. And likewise, we have to understand the conversation you had with the library director, that given the circumstances, we want to hold taxes as low as possible. That becomes something of the quandary because we still have to have the revenue to operate local government in an efficient and adequate manner in order to get that reason.
and this court did not raise the property tax rate. It was the compensating rate was 19.1 per hundred, and the biggest issues we've had to raise the 911 service fee because it had only gone up 11 cents in the last 19 years. At the same time, we've lost thousands of landlines. The court had to come in and make a substantial rate increase just to keep solid waste afloat. The court was in the jail administration has done a fantastic job of increasing jail revenue, so that reduced the amount of county contribution to the jail. We have, solid waste should be self-sustaining, but it was taking over $1 million a year out of the general fund budget. And there's just so many things that the county, when they had all this coal severance, that they were able to fund that it's no longer possible. And we're going to have to take some hard looks as we go forward. And it may be that we have to take the compensating rate in years to come because of declining population. But there's an issue that I wanted to address before we go back to this resolution is the pension issue. And I've been very critical of a decision, and I'll give you an example. We had the Mountain Water District, and when they had a contract manager came in 2005, that contract manager bought the pension liability out for all the employees. All their employees, 50, at that time about 70 employees, was bought out of the system. And you only had basically, I think, one secretary and the superintendent of the district were the only two employees left in CERS. Well, when the board made the decision at Mountain Water to terminate the contract with UMG in 2016, instead of buying out the two other employees to get them out of the system, they put them all back in the retirement system. And what we know from their audit, and their audit has been looked at by our treasurer, who's a CPA, it's been looked at by one of the board members that I appointed that's a CPA. We really can't figure out exactly what their audit talks about. But they're in a situation where they have declining revenue, they have declining customer base because of the population cost, they have no capital plan, and now their share of the unfunded liability just for Mountain Water is between $4 and $6 million. And instead of putting those employees into a 401k when they took it over and taking the other two out, now you've got close to 60 employees in the pension system. And for every dollar of payroll, they're paying 24.06 cents to the CERS system, the same rate that we pay. And one of the issues that they're going to have to deal with, and that this court's going to have to deal with, that the library board and others are going to have to deal with, is the increasing cost of pensions. And Mr. Stacy and I had a conversation, the legislation that we passed back when I was in the legislature that capped the CERS increase at 12% per year. And that's another 8 or 9 years left on that. So if the pension is at 24.06 and it can go up 12% next year, and it compounds at 12% thereafter, you're going to send me that chart. It doesn't take long for that 24.06 to become 48.12.
That's correct.
So what we're really looking at here, and it may not be this court that has to bear it, but in the future, and it's our responsibility, whether any of us are here or not, that we put a plan in place to be able to meet those pension contribution increases, because that's going to be a substantial, the county's payroll and benefits roughly are $12 million a year, Frankie. So we can expect that to go up substantially in the next 8 to 10 years. And we're going to have to look at trying to make staff reductions where possible, trying to be as efficient as possible. And it's going to be hard to meet the needs at the same time that coal severance is going down and your population is going down. And at some point, and I've said this before, the state's going to have to take a hard look at how we're funding county governments, particularly in rural Kentucky that was so dependent on the coal severance. But we're stuck with the system we have. What are your recommendations on how to deal with those factors and at the same time try to work to get the bond rating back?
You are correct to identify and recognize the pension liability issue. That we're working through what that contribution in total will be for Pike County. And it's something that we've started recently, over the summer really, because it appeared to me that many of our counties were somewhat content or maybe even happy that the legislature helped them with the pension contribution by capping it at 12%. But I think what they failed to realize is what you just stated, Judge. When you take that 12% every year for 10 years, your pension contribution is going to double, more than double, before we get to that. Now, as you well know, they set that contribution rate in budget language every 2 years. But what I know is in that legislation, that's what they can do to you, and that's increase it 12% every year. And by year 4, you're going to see significant increases in what you're paying on your covered payroll for your pension rate.
Just on my calculator, by the end of this administration, it's going to be up to 33.8% of payroll from 24.06. In 5 years, it goes up to 42.40. 6 years, 47.5. 7's 53%. 8 years from now, it's going to be 60% of payroll.
So you're at,
Roughly.
dollar-wise, about 1.9 million contribution to the pension. In 2020. Is that correct? Okay. So, and this is sometimes difficult because what we're trying to do is by using your audits back into covered payroll, and we don't always know what is hazardous and non-hazardous, which obviously there's a significant difference in what the contribution rates are for those. But if we're somewhat close and we're at $1.9 million in 2020, 25, that number goes to $3.1 million.
So, I mean, we're going to have to shoulder additional. Now, we could make the argument that this scenario, that CERS, these assumptions have been overstated by some folks in Frankfurt. That could be argued, correct?
Correct. I think that's
And,
what I'm saying.
you know, there is an argument to be made that the system is not as bad as it's perceived to be, that over time, it could be fixed, and that's a fair statement, too. I think there is an argument to be made that there are people who have tried to make this crisis, as, you know, more, I'm not saying that it's not a bad situation, but make it more dire than it actually needs to be portrayed for political reasons. But nevertheless, we're stuck with those cost increases. At the same time, we have to anticipate that the cost of employee health insurance is going to go up. You do have to factor in for employee wage growth, because if you've got quality people and you're not giving raises over a 5 or 6 year period, you're going to lose a lot of your best people. And, you know, some of the people that we employ now with certain skills probably could go to work in the private sector for substantially better pay. And then you have to factor in, you know, again, cost of employee health insurance is continuing to go up, cost of workers' compensation. So, I mean, those are all factors that we're going to have to play, they're going to have to come into play long-term on how we meet those needs. And even though we're in pretty good shape financially now, where's the county going to be in 5 years? And I think that's our goal as a court, is to not leave the county when we leave office, whenever that may be, in the shape it was in when we came in. So,
All of those points are considerations for our discussion previously of reinstatement of the credit rating. Because again, you know, S&P is going to look at you and say, Judge Jones, what is your plan to cover $5 million in contribution for pension by 2028? That's what it is. They may not do that to you, they being the General Assembly. All I know is by the legislation, they can.
well, it's going to be it's probably by the time 2028 rolls around, it's $6 million.
That's correct. And you're going to have, as part of this reinstatement effort, you're going to have to be able to answer those questions. And you're correct. The court is going to be faced with some tough decisions. The other thing that will benefit you, though, and I know that in talking with you and Deputy Judge Hickman, that you've made a concerted effort to make sure that you're getting what the county is supposed to get, and also to reduce expenditures to the point you can and still provide the services that your constituents expect. Track record is going to be important, because we've had a number of years where we've operated at a deficit in Pike County, and to prove that going forward, given that we know we have large increases in some expenditures coming, to be able to prove that out will be significant in getting the rating reinstated.
You know, I mean, there was one-time monies that the county previously had, like the $4 million from the Purdue Pharma settlement that was initially supposed to go for drug treatment, corrections, and all that was used after attorney fee expenses just to plug right into the budget. And, I mean, I think it's going to make this court have to prioritize. I mean, what's more important? Keeping your senior citizen centers open, helping your fire departments, keeping your parks and playgrounds open, and being able to take care of 1,200 miles of road so people can get to work or get to school or those kind of things. I mean, I don't want to overstate the problem, but the problem long-term for this county and other counties in eastern Kentucky could be viewed as dire. And that's why, you know, we've we've got to put people back to work. The population loss to me is the biggest challenge facing the county, because you're going to have fewer people paying occupational tax, property tax, and so forth. But we're going to need your help, and if you could get us in touch with somebody at S&P that we could sit down and start trying to come up with a plan. I've instructed Mr. Stacy that it is a priority of this court to get that credit rating reinstated, because, as you've said, it's going to cost the county a lot of money, the fact that we lost it. And we've got to try to get that back. So,
From my profession, though, I think it's encouraging, and the court should all be commended. One of the things that we try to impress upon our clients is, let's establish a capital plan. And you would be surprised, Judge, how many counties don't do that. They're just kind of operating from year to year, and then when that boiler goes out or that chiller goes out, they have no way of dealing with that, or when a natural disaster hits. They have no way of dealing with it. So the fact that you all have taken that step initially is music to our ears, because we encourage people to do that. So then we know, okay, where are we trying to get to? How do we do that? So again, here's how much we can afford to pay. Here's our priorities. Those are all policy decisions for you, where we can assist those to tell you what that looks like and how it impacts your budget.
and one of the things that we've been working on is trying to, is getting a plan in place and start working on the funding. The county just got deed to its first, largest geographical county in Kentucky, and we don't have an industrial site till we get a deed from the property up on US 460 this summer. That was never a priority. And as you know, it's not going to be easy to bring businesses to Eastern Kentucky. It's not going to be able to bring a new company here. We saw what happened with the situation with Interbloom. I think this court's got to be very cognizant of the fact that we can't just jump on any opportunity that presents itself like others have done in the past, that before we put any commitment of public resources or support, that it's got to be something that we fully vet. But there's a lot of moving pieces to what we're trying to do. We've got guys working on tourism development. We think that has some potential. But in long term, the only way we're going to address some of these issues are, in my opinion, putting people back to work in good paying jobs with benefits. And that's not going to be an easy sell with no interstate highway system, no commercial air service, no, maritime shipping options, limited rail service. So, but let's go back to this resolution, and we'll do that. But before we do that, do any of the members like to have any questions or comments about this? All right, so I'm going to go back to this page 2 of this resolution. And this is the resolution of the fiscal court we started reading earlier. I'm not going to read that over, but it basically says, whereas the 2010 bonds cannot be redeemed until on or about August 1st, 2021, in order to secure more favorable interest rates and realize the refunding program, the corporation, at the request of the county, desires to implement a forward delivery of the bonds with an expected closing date to be on or after May 5th, 2021. I'm not going to read the rest of this, but other than the fact that it says, now therefore be it resolved by the fiscal court of the county of Pike that the Pike County, Kentucky Public Properties Corporation, which is heretofore authorized as an agency of the county pursuant to chapters 58 and 273 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and an adopted resolution of the fiscal court shall be and is hereby authorized to proceed as an agency of the county and to authorize the issuance, sale, and delivery of its mortgage refunding revenue bonds in the principal amount of $14,830,000, subject to the upward or downward adjustment of 10%. Now, as just to clarify this should return about $80,000 in savings to the county and about $719,000 to the state.
That's correct.
So is there a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing this locking into these bonds at the 2.5% interest rate or thereabout? Estimated 2.5%, as previously stated in this resolution that is in the packet as Exhibit 1. We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion on this? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. And I will sign this, and Mr. Palmer and Mr. Campbell, is there anything else you'd like to add or any other suggestions that you have for the court with regard to their credit situation or this bond issue?
Judge, I just want to commend the court on the job they're doing. I know it's been some tough decisions that have to be made, but respect your decisions. And if we can help you in the future, let us know. We'll be glad to do whatever we can for you.
We appreciate you coming up today.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One other quick thing I failed to tell you. So we will send this to AOC for their approval as well. Since they pay the lease payment, they want to have some say in this. So they will likely approve this, and then we'll be in contact with you and decide how we want to proceed. As far as the reinstatement process, we're more than happy to partner with Pike County to do everything we can to make sure that you all have the financial ability to meet the needs of your constituents.
If you have any contacts at S&P that you could put us in touch with, that we could arrange a meeting and sit down and say, what do we need to do? We have been hopeful that they would take a look at the fact that, you know, we're addressing the issues that were raised in the previous audits, that we're trying to put money aside, that we're putting a capital plan in place. And we were hopeful that that would be a positive step toward reinstating the credit rating.
We can put together for you, I think, some steps that will assist in that, and we can reach out to S&P and see when they might be willing to take a look at the reinstatement. I think it will probably be some time, to be quite honest, Judge, but we're more than happy to help you with that.
Well, I mean, I think you could go back to the analogy, if somebody files bankruptcy, they don't get their credit rating back overnight.
That's correct.
And that's essentially what happened to our county is, you know, we had a very, very bad credit rating decision made, and, you know, we're not going to get that back in a year. We're not going to get it back maybe in 2 or 3 years, but if we start planning now, long term, it could mean a lot of savings to this county and allow us to do some things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do.
Correct.
Mr. Palmer, Mr. Campbell, thank you all very much. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Honey, RJ, thank y'all.
The next item on the agenda is the acknowledged receipt of the Pikeville Independent Schools 2019 tax rates. It is my understanding that there has been no change in those rates. Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the Pikeville Independent Schools 2019 tax rates?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Is there a motion to authorize the placement of all tax rates from all taxing districts on one court order?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second? Second. I'll make the motion. There's a second. There's a motion. I'll make the second. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, I'm just glad we don't have court meetings on Monday. None of us will be able to function, I don't think. So the next item is approval for a lease of property to be used for parking for the McCoy well site and authorization for payment. This is something that was brought to my attention. It is $100 per month that the court pays for parking over at the Hatfield McCoy site on Blackberry. And is there a motion to approve reauthorization of the lease for this property to be used for parking for the Hatfield, for the McCoy well site and authorization to make payment of $100 a month.
Motion.
Mr. Keene has reviewed it, and Mr. Commissioner Booth has indicated there is a need for the parking. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can't park a tour bus if you don't have this parking, or also there's limited parking unless you park in somebody's driveway to, this is across the road, and they cross the road to go to the well side, so,
And there's a lot of folks coming in for tours for this.
yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely, the tour buses couldn't not park nowhere if you don't have this piece of property.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett? Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of a resolution authorizing participation in the 2020 illegal opened up cleanup grant and authorization to execute all related documents. Sharon, we don't really need to have you come up on this. This is the grant money we use to clean up fish trap and a lot of the other illegal dumps. And this just allows you to go ahead and process the grant applications for the same thing. And we'd also like to make sure, I think, that we keep money, a portion of this money be used again for fish trap, because I would anticipate that there will be, you know, after the winter months, that we're going to have to clean it up. This is probably going to be an ongoing spring cleanup, but I think we saw this year with this program and working with the Army Corps that fish trap can be a viable economic development tool for the county, because I think it was cleaner this year than it has been in any year that I can remember because of what we had done with this program. So is there a motion for adoption of resolution authorizing participation in the 2020 illegal open dump cleanup grant and authorization to execute all related documents?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. The next item is approval to execute an agreement for Phase 1 of the Pike County Broadband feasibility study and notice to proceed. We have Mr. Eric Ratliff, who is the project administrator, developer for the Big Sandy ad. Would you please come up with Ms. Hall and explain this agreement and where we are on this. I guess might want to just explain the feasibility study and what we're trying to do.
Okay, phase one will include the mapping, it'll identify the passings. There's three portions of phase one. The feasibility study that we're doing is to find out what Pike County needs for broadband. Who needs it, where it's needed, is it feasible for us to do it, and an implementation plan. And phase one was the first two funding agencies that we applied for. It was EDA and Kentucky Power. And so we have already procured a firm to do that. That's Jigsaw. We went through the process, and we have a broadband committee that interviewed 3 companies to do that, and we're ready to proceed.
Okay. And there is a second phase of this study also, is that correct?
Yes.
Would you just briefly explain that?
I'll let,
Yeah, well,
I'll let
okay.
Eric do phase two.
Phase, the reason why we had to split the phases up, Judge, was we had intentionally had this to be one project. But when we had applied through the Center for Rural Development, which gets their funding from Appalachian Regional Commission, they would not allow the Broadband Committee to use the EDA money or the Kentucky Power money because it matched each other. So they wouldn't allow it to match their money because it's federal and federal, EDA's federal, ARC's federal. So we had to divide those 2 projects up, the EDA and the Kentucky Power being one phase, and then we petitioned the court and received $25,000 in co-severance money to use as match for a additional grant from the Center for Rural Development for a $100,000 request. So the court was generous enough to give $25,000 this project, and what we will do is apply again to the Center for Rural Development for $100,000. And we've already had conversations with Larry Combs, and that basically he's implied to us that we just basically have to go through the process, and we should be able to get that 100,000 to match the 25,000 in coal severance to do the phase 2.
I'm going to interrupt you just
Sure, go ahead.
two things. One, the total contract cost for phase 1 is how much?
85,000.
Okay, and how much of that? There's no county money in that.
No, sir.
No.
But phase 2, because we had to have a match to get grant money, what's the cost of phase 2?
We're projecting 125,000.
And 25, that's county money.
25, it's county, yes, sir.
Now, and I'm going to just say this right up front. I came into office, and I am taking the position, and I think this court is, that we're going to conserve the coal severance tax and only use it for economic development.
Yes.
And we've got to be careful with spending our single county money because, with the coal production continuing to decline, when that money's gone, that account's not going to be replenished like it has in years past. And, I support doing the study. I think I'm very concerned about long-term what the cost is going to be to put broadband out into rural Pike County. It could be tens of millions of dollars, and then, okay, let's say that we have, the study comes back and it's going to be, tens of millions of dollars. Where do we go from there? Is that when the private sector comes into play, or are we looking at public-private partnerships? What are we dealing with at that point?
Rural development has money for basically the bricks and mortar part.
And
of
ARC.
And ARC for the
Up
construction.
to $2.5 million from ARC.
So we would apply to rural development for that bricks and mortar money to actually construct it.
And then it would be the private sector to build the last mile out to the homes. And I assume the study will give us an idea about what it's going to cost per month for the customers.
Right.
Yes,
Because, I know what I'm paying now is pretty
Cost to
high.
build it, the cost to operate it, and
Yes.
what. the
cost to maintain
typical-
it, yes.
All right. All right, is there a motion to approve the execution of an agreement for phase 1 of the Pike County Broadband Feasibility Study and notice to proceed? Is there a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson, who has been on the Broadband Committee, and I want to thank him for his hard work on this issue. I know there's a lot of people put a lot of time in. I think the public needs to understand that how much work he's done. These meetings have been onerous, they've been long. Judge Hickman's the same, and I want to thank both of them for their hard work on this issue, as well as both of you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Tackett? Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Judge, just to give you, if you don't mind, just to give you an update, we did send out a request for proposals for phase 2. The deadline on that was October 11th. We received one proposal, which was Jigsaw Enterprises. The Broadband Committee will meet Thursday at 2 o'clock at the courthouse to review it and score it, and then we will send the documentation on to the Center for Rural Development for that $100,000 consideration.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Right.
And
Stay here.
ready to call the vote, roll. We're ready to move on. Okay. So the next item is, trying to do two things at once. This is dangerous. Is discussion of funding for infrastructure for the 460 Wolf Pit Industrial Site. And in your packets is a financial draft that Ms. Hall has put together at my request. This summer, the county received the deed to the Wolf Pit Industrial Site. This is the first site that the county has with any real development potential, and it is one of the few controlled fill sites. And there's 3 controlled fill sites that are going to be on 460. This one, John Moore Branch, and Wolf Pen. Now, there's the other site on Jesse Branch that'll be open for development, but it's not a controlled fill site. We saw what can happen when you don't have a control fill site, because the cost to develop any kind of industrial infrastructure is substantially higher. I think that's a fair statement. When you have to go in, you have to do a lot of geotechnical work. And that's why I'm of the opinion that these control field sites need to be used for industrial and commercial development. But we have to have a site before we can build a spec building or try to bring anybody in. And we know that the cost to put the infrastructure in is $4.955 million. $528, $4,995,528. Water is $1.838 million. Sewer is right at $1 million. Power $770,000. Fiber $385,000. Natural gas $137,500, and you've got $825,000 on the access road.
That's the road inside the park.
That's the road inside, because we've already got a road paved into it. Yeah. Now, one of the things that we don't know is whether or not the state will build a maintenance garage on the back of this. I think
Plan, they just haven't received the funding.
if they get the funding, what my plan would be is that we try to work with them, whatever money they would commit to the infrastructure for water and sewer, that they use that to work with us, put it toward this project, so we're putting the same infrastructure in. You have given us a plan for what we can do with this.
You have
Now,
two options.
you've put, the EDA disaster fund is $2.964 million.
If we go ahead, if we wait and do it all at once instead of phasing the project.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So my opinion is we need to get the infrastructure in instead of trying to phase it, because, the longer we wait, the longer we're down the road before we can put anything in there. The options for ARC and CDBG are limited because we don't have a committed tenant. Is that correct?
Yes, you have to have a tenant first. You have to have the jobs created.
And then with AML, we're asking for $1.398 million.
Right.
And then that would require us to come up with a match of coal severance of $592,884, correct?
Yes, that's matched to the EDA, which is a 20% match.
Okay. So now, the sources of money that we have, we've got the recaptured money that's about $900,000, and we had voted to take $400,000 or $500,000 of that for potentially this road project over to help with Kellogg's and the road expansion. We don't know if we're going to get that or if the District 12 will get that project approved or not.
No, we won't know till probably another month.
Okay, so we also have we've got our single county money. And what my recommendation would be, we use the recaptured coal severance tax money and the amount that's over $500,000, and whatever single county money is necessary to go ahead and get the EDA application in, because those funds, once they're spent globally, we're not going to have access to them. And it's your recommendation, as I understand it, that we go ahead and do this quickly. Is that correct?
Yes, because typically EDA requires a 30% match for Pike County, and they also require that you create jobs. That's, it's economic development money. But this disaster money does not require you to create those jobs, because you are revamping, revitalizing a community that's had flooding, disaster, and Pike County does qualify. This is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. There's $587 million with this disaster fund for us to apply for. I just wanted to be one of the first people to go for it before it runs out.
Right.
And
We don't want to wait.
so here's what it would be my motion, that we authorize you to proceed with an application for EDA disaster funds in the amount of $2.964,422, an AML grant application for $1,398,222, and that the fiscal court commit recaptured and single county coal severance tax funds in the amount of $592,884 as matching funds for this project. That would be my motion. Or let me ask this, is there a motion to do that? I'll ask the court, is there a motion? We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. So is there any question or discussion about this? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. So, and I think that's why I wanted this on the agenda today, is so we could go ahead and get you going for that money, because other communities are going to be going for that money. And if we don't get that, then that puts us back to having to use single county money. And we've got the single county money to do a lot of this. But if we spend that money, we'll never get it back. And I think would that be a fair statement? I mean, with no coal production, that account's not going to be replenished. So we've given you the authorization. Get this done immediately, if you can.
Either win big or break even.
But we need to create jobs with this site, hopefully, for those miners and that money that's not going to be there. We've got to move to the next phase. You know, times have changed, and we got to do something with it.
Well, like I said, I had one of my best friends was laid off about a week ago with the Blackhawk layoffs. He's like my brother. And it's hit home. It's hit a lot of people. And those people who have been displaced from the mining industry they're having to move to find work, whether it's Alabama or other places, or they're having to go, Toyota. And the population, as I told Mr. Palmer, the population loss to me is the greatest threat to the future of this county, because you're losing your workforce, you're losing their children are leaving, and the chances of them coming back are not good. And it's just fewer people to support the tax base to pay for government services, and it's a huge concern. So what is your timetable for getting all this done? Can you have it on my desk by Friday?
No, our plan, if we could get get this passed, was to have the EDA by the end of the year.
Yeah, have it done by the end of the year.
And-
I was hoping by the end of the week or end of the month, so.
Yeah, I wish I could blink
Okay,
my eyes
all
and
right.
make that
We'll do
happen.
it as fast as we can.
All right.
Yeah, we will.
And we appreciate-
AML will be in the spring, though.
Yeah, the AML will be in the spring.
Yes, that funding is not available right now. That's why I had it phased to do the EDA first with the single county and the recapture funds, and then in the spring, call it phase 2 for AML. But we don't have to call it any phase. We can just start and go.
Well, thank you all very much, and keep me up to date and keep the court up to date on this. We'd like periodic updates, because we need to know. And then if you could get me a memo on how, once we get the funding, how we go about getting, the water and the project, how we let it. I know we'd be paying the power company to put the power in, the water and sewer, how we're going to go, what the plans are. We need to just be working on that. You can keep, get with Judge Hickman on that, and we can move forward with it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Next item is approval to remove a portion of a county road known as Snake Branch County Route 9213. We already had Mr. Keene and Mr. Little look at this. I think it's their recommendation that we remove this from the county road system. Is that accurate? Come on up, Fagan.
Yes, Judge.
All right, go ahead.
But yes, the only people that this portion, of the road serve, it's at the main end of the road. They were the ones who had petitioned and wanted this taken out. It wasn't an issue for any of the rest of the public, so I didn't see any reason of not taking it out, because it was their request too, so.
All right. Is there a motion to remove a portion of County Route 9213 known as Snake Branch from the county road system? We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item is the awarding of bids. Mr. Fan, you have anything for us today, sir?
had two bid openings on October 11th. The first one was bid number 352019 for a waste radiation detection system. There was one bid received. It was from Laura Systems from Elliott City, Maryland. The bid price was $26,740. The system meets all specifications laid out in the bid package.
All right. And is,
My recommendation that we not award this bid at this time. It's been brought to my attention that there's a document that had not been signed before we advertised the bid. It is a technicality, and the fundings are in place, but we will need to rebid this project.
all right. So is there a motion to pass over this item? We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, so that'll make it. All right, proceed, Mr. Fan.
We also had a second bid opening on October 11th. It was bid number 36-2019, 4 used 3/4 ton trucks. We received one bid. It was from Larry Steiger Equipment Trailers and Trucks of Frankfort, Kentucky. They bid on all 4 trucks. Truck number 1 is a 2013 Ford F-250 extended cab 4-wheel drive, and the bid price was $19,250. Truck number 2 is a 2011 Ford F-250 extended cab 4-wheel drive. The bid price was $16,250. Truck number 3 is a 2014 Ford F-250 extended cab 4-wheel drive. The bid price was $18,250. And truck number 4 is a 2015 Ford F-250 extended cab 4-wheel drive, and the bid was $21,250. So the total bid price on all 4 trucks would be $75,000. All 4 trucks meet the specifications laid out in the bid package. It's my recommendation that we award the bid to Larry Steiger's Equipment Trailers and Trucks of Frankfort, Kentucky, on all 4 bids for a total bid price of $75,000.
And it is my understanding that this was advertised correctly, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, just so the folks will know, we've got, because of the number of inmates that we're using, we need the extra cab trucks to be able to haul the inmates to work on our solid waste system. And we looked at the issue of potentially buying new trucks, but Commissioner Robertson brought up the point that it doesn't make sense to buy brand new trucks to haul bulk garbage, refrigerators, washers, dryers, that kind of material. And, it doesn't make sense. But I want to, again, commend Commissioner Robertson. Him and Dale Justice went down to, did anybody else go down with you on that? And Greg went down, Mr. Fannin went down, and they went under these trucks. Ronnie took his computer diagnostic equipment down, put them all on the computer, went up under the hoods, checked the suspensions. I mean, they went over these 4 vehicles with a fine-tooth comb, drove them all, and we wanted to make sure that we just didn't go, like in the past, go to a state surplus auction and just see something bid on it. There was due diligence put into the acquisition, and I don't know if that's ever been done to this magnitude by the court before, and I want to thank Ronnie for taking his time. Thank you for going down on this. One question is to the county's treasurer. We are in a financial position to where this is not going to create any kind of financial issue for the county. Is that true? Yes. Okay. So is there a motion to award bid number 36-2019 for 4 used 3/4 ton trucks to Larry Steiger's Equipment Trailers and Trucks at Frankfort, Kentucky in the amount of $75,000? We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Can I also ask that that 75,000 be added to the expenditure list as well?
Okay.
That way we can pay.
Let me restate the motion. Is there a motion to award bid number 36-2019 for 4 used 3/4 ton trucks to Larry Steiger's Equipment Trailers and Trucks, Frankfort, Kentucky, and to authorize payment on the current expenditure list for the amount of $75,000 for the bid price?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any other question or discussion?
Judge,
Yes, sir.
these 4 trucks that we're gonna, the single cab trucks, are there any way JJ can look at them, and if there's 2 of them that we might could use on the road lot with a solder and a blade on it, we see what lots needed. I think, District 1's needing one, up on Ronnie, or the airport.
We can get with him on, we can get with Fabian on that.
Okay.
And
Well, like I said, if they're good enough, I mean, the main reason why we done this here was the more room in the truck, more seat belts and that situation. And it might be the trucks that we might can use 2 of them, or if they're not good enough to do that, we can put them in the auction, because one.
Well, and we don't want to take newer trucks and put solders
Exactly.
and blades on them, because, I mean, but whichever 2 we put, if we decide to move them over there, and Judge Hickman can make that happen like that. Figure out which trucks that the road department wants, we can go ahead and move them as soon as we get these others in place. And we just need to make sure that we get them,
I know that your lot, or the airport lot needs one. I know Belcher's, I think they're 1 truck short, aren't they?
But
And Marbone is on.
I don't know if we can get, we might get 2 good trucks out of the 4, can't we, JJ? Maybe. I know one of them's got 400-some thousand miles, and it sounds like a lifter's going through the hood on it.
yeah, I mean, we had one of our solid waste foremen, and this is something the public should know, who's driving a truck with 430,000 miles. It's wore out.
Yeah.
And we need to probably put that truck in the surplus auction. It'll take place next month.
Yeah.
So, and we'll let JJ give us the recommendations on which ones are the best once we get these other ones in.
Sounds good.
All right. The next matter is the approval of the county commissioners. I'm sorry, we didn't vote on.
Yes, we need to vote.
We need to vote?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I got sidetracked again. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Johnson?
Yes. So the next item is the Pike County Road Supervisor's Report and approval of the Pike County Commissioner's recommended road maintenance schedule. And I assume that this will also be put back up on Pike TV's Facebook page for the folks to look at. Fabian, I know the bridge up on Left Fork of Island Creek over onto Raspberry Lane is coming along. And it's really impressive that the county road crew is able to build a bridge like that. And they were out Saturday morning early working on this bridge.
Yeah, and it's coming along really well. We should get both walls poured this week, and then by the Monday, we'll set those beams in, get that deck. We actually should have that deck poured by next week, and then we'll let it set a week before we put traffic on it. But we're coming along really good there.
I mean, it's impressive the work that the crews are able to do.
3 guys.
3 guys building the bridge.
They can do a lot.
And we'd like probably it'd be worthwhile to get Pike TV to go up there and let them talk to the road crew, and
We can do that.
they can see the work that they're doing. And I want to commend all of our county employees and road crews. I mean, we still make mistakes. There's things that don't go the way we expect, but they're working hard, and it's much appreciated. Like I said, Saturday morning, it was cold out, chilly out, and they were out there working away on that bridge.
Yep.
So the other issue is, how are we doing our flex paving?
We're actually, I know it's a little later in the year, but we've got 2 roads. So should finish 1 today, so we'll like 1 tomorrow, and that should get us done on all of our flex money.
Okay.
So that's going to give us a little bit of time maybe to, if we can, to lay a little bit of.
And we got the contract back from the state last week on the $936,000 discretionary money.
Right.
Do you think we'll get any of that work done this year, or will that be in the spring most likely?
I think, if the weather will hold out, there's a chance we possibly could get all that laid this year.
Now, you explained to me there's 2 issues on the guardrail. This is something that Commissioner Booth and I have been concerned about. It's the piece of guardrail on Octavia. And you and I personally called NWK Guardrail, and they were promised they should have been here a month ago.
Yeah. Brian and I have kind of come up with another little solution for that job. But then what we've done, I know we had talked about maybe bidding that guardrail out. And, we can bid it, but there's also a company of George B. Stone. They have the state contract. We actually could just go ahead and get them in and get them to put that, or we can bid it out either
If
way.
they've got state contract pricing, we don't have to bid it. Is that correct, Frankie?
I just talked to Murray Holbrook today.
Let's get them up here if we get, because you're not going to beat state contract most likely. But let's get them up here, and while they're trying to do the work on Ford Mountain, let's get that place on Octavia fixed, because that's a concern.
And then also, I talked to Gary King. He said he possibly will start this week on the drill sites for Ford Mountain. So
Okay.
we'll go ahead and get all that done, and then we'll put that blacktop in.
All right.
But yeah, hopefully we'll get that done this year, if the weather lets.
2 of those sites on Ford Mountain are FEMA sites. And then I think there's a couple sites they're going to
There's 2 sites
fix
that are not.
on
But
the discretionary
but
money.
no, correct me if I'm wrong, we can go ahead and fix all those sites, so correct? Okay.
They'll
All right.
just have to break out the FEMA from the rest of it.
Right, I just didn't want to get ahead of myself, but we can go ahead and do that FEMA work. Okay.
All right. Is there the commissioners have anything that they need to add to the list? Yeah, I've got. Okay. And Fabian, if you'll give those to me, we'll just go ahead and, I'll read those out here and we'll put them on here. All right. Commissioner Robertson, Commissioner Tackett, y'all have anything else?
Fabian, did we go over there and get those blockades we had off that bridge over there on Right Fork of Brushy? The reason I'm asking that, I wondered if the state went back and put 2 of theirs up because they're in the creek over there too.
No, those are ours that's in the creek. Those, yeah, those are ours. Ike was supposed to went and got them out yesterday. But, you know, we put them up and they just throw them.
Well, I thought we got those out 2 or 3 months ago.
Well, we got them out, yeah.
And he just put them back up.
Yeah.
And they just throwed them in there again.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not going to, I mean, we'll
There's
keep
no
it
way
up.
we're
There's
going
no
to keep
way
that
we're gonna
closed,
stop
so
now.
we better go get our barricades and bring them home.
Well, we can't though. We have to have those barricades there. Now, if they
The only way you're gonna,
if they want to throw them in a creek, that's on them. But, you know, for us, we have to have them there, you know.
well, the only thing I know will keep it blocked, is put a DT there.
Well, that's
Take
about
a
the only
battery
thing that
out.
will do it, but.
We can probably take one of those old junk graders over and park it that we got.
Listen, Mary just told me point blank that the barricades have to be there. If they choose to throw them in a creek, burn them for firewood, whatever, we have to have them there.
Okay.
I've got one situation, happened up at Shelby Valley, night before last. The football field or the locker rooms got robbed. And they're using the old bridge, which we've got barricaded. That's what made me think about this. To go from the high rise to the football field, they had it on camera as the TVs or the whatever what all they got out of the. Are we going to get that tore down? Because I'd spoke with, actually it's nothing to us. It's on board property. And I spoke with Ireland Blankenship, and he was fine with doing away with it because 20, 40 foot right above there is the road that goes into the.
My question, I had somebody call me about this too. The question is, who owns the bridge?
I can help with that. The school board paid for the lumber, and actually, I built that bridge.
See, I mean, but here's my take on that. It's on school board property, it's their bridge.
But I'm more than welcome to go tear it down too. I can tear it
All
down.
I was suggesting, if he would just run the excavator for one day and just load it in the back of the truck.
And we can do that, no problem. We can, and when it was first built, the reason they done it was so the people at the high rise could have access and walk over to that walking track. But then over the years, I don't know, no one's using it anymore.
It's very dangerous.
And it
Judge.
is, it's.
Well, it's
rotten.
barricaded off,
It
but
needs to be.
the only question I had is, it goes back to, our inability to work on school board property.
Yeah.
So we need to have a conversation. Is it our bridge or is it the school board's bridge? Because I mean, again, we got to be careful about using county road department employees that are paid with state road funds to do work tearing a footbridge down on property that we may not own. So,
That I don't know. I know we could take care of that ditch through there, along with the road
It's
too.
over, we do take care of that.
yeah, and like Fabian said, they build it and the school board paid for the materials, but it's
Right.
clearly not legal to do that. And what I would recommend we do is to call the board, let you call the board or Paul. It would seem to me that if it is our responsibility to tear it down, that it should be probably done by Public Works instead of the road department. Because that would be my recommendation if we have to use a piece of road department equipment.
So I'm saying, I can always help, Paul. I mean.
That's what I'm saying, but you know, but it does need to be torn down because somebody's gonna get hurt on it. But I want to make sure that
We're doing it. I'll
doing
make
it
that-
right by the book.
I'll make that call.
Okay, so you can get with the board and we'll figure it out.
Yep.
All right, so we have before us the road department progress report. And Commissioner Booth, we want to incorporate by reference the addition of road number 8192 South Railroad Street for installing a drain work, install a drain, 7801 Francis Hill, and 8160 for pulling ditches, dipping creeks, et cetera. And also Big Blue Spring Road and Phelps and 8712 L Branch. And we'll incorporate this by reference into the current list. Is there a motion to adopt this recommended road progress report and recommended road maintenance list with the incorporation of the list that Commissioner Booth has given us?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion?
I was just going to say that before we send this to the TV, we'll have that addition on here.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. I'll give you this copy so you can take it with you and have them put that on the list. Okay. The next item is the treasurer's business. Mr. Stacy, you have the floor.
First thing I have is to authorize the following interfund transfer for September 2019 would be to transfer $600,000 from the road fund to the maintenance garage fund.
Is there a motion to authorize transfer of $600,000 from the road fund to the maintenance garage fund? We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second? We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated September 14th, 2019, and any other utility and telephone bills received before checks are run, which will probably be Thursday.
Is there a motion to authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated September 14th and any other utility and telephone bills received before the checks are run?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. And we've gone over these. Everything seems to be in order. I think it is higher this month because we do have the refinancing of the lease
We've got the
vehicles.
payoff of the trucks that we sold at auction on the bill list this month, which would be 1.3 of the bill list.
All right.
So that's why it's substantially higher, but we've got the auction check about 3 weeks ago to offset that.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item is acknowledge the receipt of the treasurer's monthly financial statement ending September 30th, 2019. Is there a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
With second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Mr. Stacy?
Acknowledge receipt of the sheriff and the clerk's 2550 report for September 2019.
Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the sheriff and clerk's 2550 reports for September 2019?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Mr. Stacy?
Authorize a check or checks in the amount up to $35,386.63 to Larry Young for 4 illegal dump cleanups. Once the Kentucky Division of Waste Management and Sharon Hall have signed off saying that they've received all the documentation and that the dumps are clean.
All right. Is there a motion to authorize a check or checks in the amount of $35,386.63 to Larry Young for 4 illegal dump cleanups once the Kentucky Division of Waste Management and Ms. Hall have signed off that they are complete?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
I know November 5th is Election Day, which is our next scheduled court meeting, and there was a chance that it may get canceled. So I have on the agenda to authorize payment to election workers, polling places, and election commissioners for the November 2019 election once invoices are received from the county clerk's office. That way I'll have a standing order to cut those checks if we do cancel the next court meeting.
All right. I'm looking at the calendar here for another reason. I'll tell you here in a second because we got to go back and something I overlooked about that next court meeting. All right. Is there a motion to authorize payment to election workers, polling places, and election commissioners for the November 2019 election once invoices are received from the county clerk's office?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? See none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize checks for lodging and expenses, no registration fee for Sharon Hall to attend the 2019 CDBG Administrator Recertification Training, November 18th through the 19th in Frankfurt.
Is there a motion to authorize checks for lodging expenses for Sharon Hall to attend this 2019 CDBG Administrator Recertification Training, November 18th to 19th in Frankfort, Kentucky?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any question or discussion? See none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
The last thing I had would be to authorize the judge executive to sign the promissory note and the loan agreement with Community Trust Bank for the lease of the current Mack trucks that we have, the 7 tandem dump trucks and the 3 roll-off transfer trucks. I went to Frankfurt last Tuesday to a bond hearing with DLG, and their bond counsel has given us their recommended order that they would approve the lease. So we have DLG sign off on it, and we can go ahead and execute with Community Trust now.
So is there a motion to authorize the judge executive to sign the promissory note and loan agreement with Community Trust for the lease of 7 tandem dump trucks and 3 roll-off transfer trucks?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
That's all I had.
Mr. Stacy, thank you very much, and thank you for going down to the meeting last week to get approval from the Department of Local Government on that. One matter before we adjourn to executive session is the next court meeting is scheduled for 5:30 p.m. on November 5th, 2019 for it's our first meeting in November. Of course, that's Election Day. and this room is used for voting. So what would be the will of the court in terms of rescheduling that meeting? When would you all prefer to reschedule that to? No, I don't want to pick one. It'll be, you all pick one. You want to do it Monday or Wednesday? You want to do it that week? You want to do it later in the week? You want to do, I mean, Mondays are always Monday. I always prefer not to have anything else on Monday. We have, that's church is Wednesday. That interferes. Let me look at Thursday here. Thursday evening, Thursday at 5:30 p.m. would work for me and Mr. Keene. Would there be a motion to reschedule the November 5th, 2019 court meeting to Thursday, November 7th at the hour of 5:30 p.m.? We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. And Ms. Robinson, if you would give us all a reminder call to make sure that we don't show up on Tuesday, it probably would help. The way things have been going here. No comments, right? I think Commissioner Robertson needs to record a vote on the minutes and on the acknowledgement of the Pike County Public Library District tax rates. Would you like to record those votes, Commissioner? You can go ahead and record them as far as I'm concerned, that you're present. All right, is there a motion to, before we do this, Mr. King, would you please instruct the court on the relevant Kentucky revised statutes necessary to adjourn into executive session?
We need a motion under KRS 61810, subsection C and F, to discuss pending litigation and specific personnel matters.
Is there a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of discussing specific personnel matters and possible or pending litigation? Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second? Second. A second by Commissioner Booth. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth? Yes. Judge Jones?
Yes, we are in adjournment for executive session. All right, we'll call the court back to order. And is there a motion to adjourn from executive session?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner, well, let's wait. We're standing at ease, waiting on our clerk. So, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second a motion by Commissioner Commissioner Tackett, and a second by Commissioner Booth to adjourn from executive session. And would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. That brings us to the authorization for personnel decisions. And Mr. Maynard, would you please present my recommendations regarding specific personnel matters?
Yes, Judge.
Gentlemen, the following items are up for approval. It's approval to move Jeff McPeak from Solid Waste Area 5 to Solid Waste Area 3 as a packer driver at the same rate of pay. Approval to amend court order from October 1st to state Griffin Absher as a packer driver at Solid Waste Area 1 at a 3H rate of pay. Approval to amend court order from October 1st to state that Paul Smith is hired at the Pike County Detention Center. Approval to hire Austin Hatfield as a mini packer driver at Solid Waste Area 5 at a 3H rate of pay effective 10/16/19. Approval to move Greg Phipps temporarily from Road Lot 3 to Road Lot 4 as a truck driver at a 3H rate of pay plus longevity. Approval to accept Melvin McCoy's resignation effective 10/16/19. Approval to hire Keith James as a weed mower at Road Lot 3 at a 2H rate of pay. That is all, Judge.
Gentlemen, that is my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Tackett. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the Pike County Department Supervisor's comments. Mr. Hensley, you have anything? Mr. Justice? Mr. Fannin? Ms. Thacker? Ms. Vanover? Mr. Morley? Mr. Kaiser? Come on up.
Judge, me and Fabian went up last week, Thursday, and had a punch list with the contractor stuff on the Fish Trap Road, and come out that we had a little money left over in the budget, and they requested a change order. There was $1,500 that wasn't used for seeding, and then there was like $5,500 short on the contract. And also, I'd like to say that Mountain Enterprise went over $120.08, and they said they'd eat that. That wouldn't be no problem. But we talked it over with this. There's approximately $7,000 left, and me and Fabian talked, and he suggested that we put 2 white stripes on the edge of the blacktop, which is roughly $2,500, and then that left us $30-some hundred, and we were going to get some DGA at a special price stuff they had up there on the lot. I think it's come like 180 or 190 ton, and we're going to purchase that and put it on the road shoulders and wide spots on that road where people have to pull over or something to pass, and they've got a place, wide spot to pull over. And they suggested this, stuff, so they're requesting that change order. Won't cost the county anything.
So it is your recommendation and Mr. Little's recommendation that we approve change order number 2 on the connector from Fish Trap Road to Upper Pompey Road?
Yes.
Right. Is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
And just let the court know that that's all we like, and they was there putting the signage up on the road, and their machine messed up, and they may have got it done since we was up there. They was coming straight back to do it as soon as they got their machine fixed. So once this is done, we're done with the road.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fann, you have anything? Mr. Ratliff? Jimmy Dale, you have anything? Mr. Spears? Mr. Tackett? Mr. Little, anything else to finish up? Oh, come on up and have a seat here for a second. So you have completed the Roadmasters program.
Road Scholar and Roadmasters, yes.
You know, you are the first road scholar that I've ever met.
Wait just a minute.
So. Thanks. So what that is about is that is the Transportation Cabinet's Roads Masters program and Road Scholars program, and it is an education program for folks who work in road maintenance and road construction, and Mr. Little has completed the highest level, which is the Road Scholars Program. He's worked very hard this year. He's had a lot of training, and I want to congratulate him, and I would ask the members of the court to join me in expressing our gratitude. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Make me blush.
That does not mean we're buying your lunch today.
You can eat with me.
Fabian, I know you traveled a lot of miles to get that too.
Hey, worst part about it is it just don't come with a raise.
Well, you know, the thing about it, though, is it is an investment in our management team that will save the taxpayers money. There's a lot of things you've learned that will save us money and make us more efficient and allow us to better take care of our roads and bridges. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Stacy, do you have anything? All right. The next item is Assistant County Attorney's comments. Mr. King. Thank you, sir. We have no one signed up for public comment. Mr. Hickman, do you have anything?
Not today, Judge.
That brings us to the County Commissioner's comments. Mr. Tackett, we'll start with you.
I've got a few things here I need to discuss. One of them is Fabian. The Kelly Mountain slip where the road had slid down. I was informed here a while back by some of the people that live up there before school started back, that was the reason the bus would not run. Now that is fixed. Can we contact the school board and let them know that we do have that fixed and they can go back to running the bus up there?
I will. I'll get a hold of Ancy and let him know. I was may have had a little different. I thought that the reason they wasn't running the bus was because of the number of kids that were up there, but it may have been because of that. But I will call and let him know that that has been fixed.
Okay.
Just to kind of tell you a little bit more, we had initially thought about moving that road over where that slip was at, and we still do want to do that because the property owner had went ahead and signed over and gave us the right to use that property.
That's Mr. Kelly, right?
Yeah, Mr. Kelly. He gave us that, but just because of everything that's been going on with, you know, the slips we had and everything else, that we've not had the time to get back up there, but that is still in the plans. And I want the people of Kelly Mountain to know that we've not forgot about that. It's just with time, but we will eventually get to move that road over where we had planned, okay?
I went up yesterday, drove the road, and I drove the, well, from one end to the other, and the job y'all done on that slip looked good to me. You
Well,
know,
honestly, I think
I'm not
that
no scholar or nothing like that, but, you know. but you know, what I can tell, there was some good work done there. I will brag on the guys that had done that.
Okay, but that did hurt.
And then Sharon, I'd had a few calls from, about the, Shelby Valley Fire Department, Long Fork, about the bay. They was just wondering, maybe we can explain to them a little bit here at the court meeting about what that meeting, the 18th, is actually about, and if you got just a second to do that.
The grant money for the Shelby Valley Fire Department is USDA, that's federal money. You always have to have a public hearing for comments, you know, for the public to attend, to make their comments, yeah, this project's okay. It's just for people to decide, you know, does it affect them in any adverse way or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just standard procedure to have a public hearing, and we'll have it at 2 o'clock on Friday.
Okay, all right, thank you. And other than that, Judge, I just want to thank the employees of this county. I know they work hard, and I just want them to be safe and just keep up the good work. And other than that, that's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Roberts.
I just want to thank all the good employees that we've got in this county. We're making a difference, and we'll just keep going and keep going and keep going, just like the Energizer Bunny. And I want to thank our fellas from CAECO coming up and visiting us today. We appreciate that. You all have a safe trip back. And that's all I got.
Commissioner Booth.
Yeah, Judge, I just want to thank our employees. They're doing an outstanding job. I think our paving crew, Jim and Danny over there, everyone's been doing a lot of paving. They've been doing a real good job of paving. Yeah, they are. And that's about all I have today, Judge.
Thank you, sir. That brings to my comments. I don't have any. And the next item is the benediction. Brother Jimmy Dale, would you come and say the benediction for us, please?
Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day. Thank this court for working so good together. May we all work together for the benefit of Pike County. And may we remember all of our workers have got laid off. Remember our poor families. Remember all of our sick people. Just help us all, Lord, to be what you want us to be in this life. In the end, save us without the loss of any. It's my prayer for Jesus' name, and amen.
Amen. Is there a motion for adjournment? Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robertson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett? Yes. Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, we are adjourned.